What's going on, Jerome's Beautiful Friday. Finally made it to the freaking weekend, and it's time for another Vikings news dump. He sees you when you're pooping. So I feel like there's been way too many changes in terms of the draft odds. If you're interested in wagering a jelly bean or two, you can bet on which team is going to select which quarterback, which quarterback is going to go where. Like, there's a lot of different ways that you can do this. Now, keeping up with the odds shifting, it's kind of tough this time of year because every single nugget, every single rumor, every single time a GM completely just lies out of his ass, the numbers change, right? And it happens. And I always bring up Will Levis last year. So Will Levis, the number one overall pick, ultimately was Bryce Young. Will Levis fell out of the first round. So his odds were plus 4,000. So 40-1. 40-1 that he would be the first pick in the draft. So break even 2.5%. Yeah. And suddenly, right before the draft, due to a Reddit post, he went to plus 600. So 6-1. So a massive, massive shift from 40-1 to 6-1. So don't take any of the odds that seriously. That's all. That's all, man. Something you should take seriously is Justin freaking Jefferson. Woo, woo. It's looking good. So first off, yes, Justin Jefferson is sitting out of a voluntary offseason workout program for the Vikings, just like last year, even though to the national media, jabroni haircuts, the sky is falling. But also, hey, CeeDee Lamb, he's good, man. He's fine. It's fine. It's weird. Everyone and their mom wants to trade Justin Jefferson. There hasn't been a peep. There has not been a whisper of the Cowboys trading CeeDee Lamb, even though their cap is FUBAR. Because their cap is run by Stephen Jones's buddy. That's all, man. But so JJ sitting out the team's offseason workout program, but not going to lie, Justin Jefferson's looking jerked. That's right, baby. So also JJ, if you notice, so I'm not down with fashion nowadays. I don't know what the kids are all doing, so this might be a thing. But to me, and my late 90s, early 2000s brain, that looks like a wallet chain. Like you would get at Hot Topic as we're headed to the Good Charlotte concert. Lifestyles of the rich and the famous. And I don't know, like, is it a sign? Jefferson posted this on the grab, by the way. Is this a sign that it's a diamond-studded wallet chain that the extension is imminent? Because I feel like if you're the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history and the highest guarantee for a non-quarterback, I feel like you deserve a diamond-studded wallet chain. That would make sense. Plus, this is a great photo. But I'm really glad that he didn't pull an A-Rod and kiss himself in the mirror. That's all. But either way, JJ's looking good. Someone's also looking good. So I love like when a new regime takes over and we want to put our stamp on things. Like we talked about Mike McDonald and the Seahawks yesterday, taking away the basketball hoop and like pictures of beast mode and stuff. But all right, so the commies, new ownership, new GM, new head coach, Dan Quinn. But new on the wall, Nick Lujabala. Anybody, anywhere, anytime. So the Washington Commanders stole their new ethos and motto and catchphrase from your mom. That's all. That's all. Also, speaking of me being like a kid of the late 90s and early aughts, like, we need to bring back your mama jokes. I feel like the broccoli-haired kids and like D's nuts and Sus and Riz, like, I feel like they wouldn't be able to handle it. That's all. Like your mom is so fat she has a gravitational pull. She literally has a debris field which breaks up meteorites. That's all. Anyways, so speaking of your mama, so actually that's not a smooth segue. Whatever. But so Ernie the Cowboys fan put this together. Trending per sources, the Cowboys and defense coordinator Mike Zimmer, perhaps you've heard of them, are doing everything they can to get starting one tech Mazy Smith, the pride of Michigan, last year's first-round selection, weight back up to 350. One source told me it's honestly a strict diet of carne asada, rice, and beans. We're not doing corn tortilla, straight flour. I'm guessing different flour unless he's eating rose petals. We'll do a horchata with each meal as well. He's going to get to the goal weight by training camp. Now, Mazy Smith, disappointing rookie year, but was a great player at Michigan. And if they want him to be the true nose tech, he's going to bulk up a little bit. And so Zim's always been a 4-3 guy. Of course, we know here with the Vikings as well as with the Bengals. He did have some 3-4 experience back in the day. His first time around with the Cowboys with Bill Parcells, who's always a big 3-4 guy. And, I mean, Mazy Smith, I would like to bulk up to 350. Like, I know that it would be bad for me since I'm like 5'7", but, you know, who doesn't like a horchata? Or rice and beans and carne asada? Like, come on, baby. Let's go. Speaking of Cowboys and former Vikings, so Kendricks, who, after he was released by the Chargers, even though I thought they played pretty damn well last year, I thought that maybe he would hang him up, but he decided to follow Zimmer to Dallas, which, I don't know, it's kind of weird given Kendricks' comments about the the fear-driven organization, but obviously the mended fences. He's going to be wearing number 50 with the Cowboys. So there you go. And it's interesting. So Eric Kendricks, Anthony Barr, obviously go way back. Also, when Eric Wilson was here, they were very tight as a linebacker core. Now, Eric Wilson, stupid Packer now, but it's okay. He had a big-time recovery on a punt return against the Niners. Anyways, but when Anthony Barr came back to the Vikings, 55 was spoken for, so he took on 54. Now, Kendricks wearing 50 as an homage to Eric Wilson. Everything goes around, comes around. It's kind of funny, man. Something that isn't funny. So, Antonio Brown. So, on the field, Antonio Brown had a historic run with the Steelers. Like, maybe the best 6-year stretch for a receiver in NFL history, and I'm not even being hyperbolic. Like, legitimately, 2013, 2018, Antonio Brown was it. Antonio Brown was, yes, like wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, somewhere in there. Right, but Antonio Brown, a lot of concerns. And I don't think that he's mentally well. I do think that he is having some mental issues. But he remains a big part of social media and a big part of the news. Now, a lot of Vikings fans saw this yesterday from the CT-ESPN network, which Antonio Brown is pushing. So source, Souse. Breaking news, Dalton Riser will resign. Actually, you have to have the dash in there, otherwise it changes the meaning of the word. So Dalton Riser will resign with the Minnesota Vikings, so he's leaving office. Okay, but resign with the Vikings. Now, a lot of fans ran with this. Now, like, Antonio Brown has been right sometimes, sure. Like saying, oh, the Bears are going to take Caleb Williams. But if you go back through the account, I mean, a lot of his breaking news has been basically teams trying to trade for Justin Jefferson. So Steelers, taking over Deontay Johnson's 18, black and yellow, and then of course breaking Patriots tried to make a serious push for Justin Jefferson. I mean, he may be right that teams are pushing, but ain't gonna happen. That's all. So, I mean, could they bring Reisner back? Sure. I think potentially after the draft. Also, re-signing him would not be a factor in the comp formula, which expires after the draft anyway, so it's whatever. But if they did re-sign him, like I don't think that they would just hand him the starting job back. Plus, I don't think that they would pay him more than Blake Brandel. So it could be a moot point. Also, if the Vikings suture up some interior offensive line help in the draft, I think that ship would be sailed, which would be kind of weird. Also weird is Adam, Jerome, Ezekiel Thielen, the pride of Detroit Lakes, Mankato State University Community College. And I know, so we occasionally get like Mankato State alums in the comments like, oh, they just won the national title in basketball, bro. Yeah, Winona State has won a few of those. Springfield, Massachusetts, no big deal. But so Thielen, last offseason, declined the pay cut, and reportedly the Vikings did want him back, but at a lower number. Thielen declined. He was cut, and then he went to the Panthers, got a mini bag, got himself a 1,000-yard season, worked with Bryce Young and company. So respect. I mean, it worked out, right? And also the Vikings got Jordan Addison, and that worked out too. Vikes fan page, Adam Thielen talking to Forbes. On his time with the Vikings, it's a bummer that I wasn't able to finish my career there. I'm so blessed that this experience happened because it really shaped myself and my family for the future. Now, the Panthers are probably going to go hard in the paint on receiver this year. So I don't think that Thielen's going to get the same work that he got last year. Also, they traded for Deontay Johnson. Also, maybe Mingo steps up in year 2. And also, I mean, they could take Xavier Leggett, maybe Ladd McConkey, maybe both of them in the draft. So I think that Thielen's numbers will go down. But also, Thielen talking about how he was bummed that he didn't finish his career with the Vikings. I mean, Harrison Smith was in the same boat last offseason and also this offseason, and he seemed to make it work. I don't know. But, again, never going to fault a player for his case, but also let's not just do revisionist history and say that something couldn't have worked out. Now, eventually time will pass, and Thielen will be welcomed back as a hero and Ring of Honor and all that stuff. Rightfully so. But I don't know. I feel like it's like trying to have your cake and eat it too. It's like, oh, I want to get paid and I want a wide receiver one work, and I did that on a bad team last year that would have had the number 1 overall pick, except they traded the first round pick to the Bears, and the Bears got 1-9 now, and now we're basically the worst team in the league, but also we don't have a first round pick. But other than that, really good. Really good. Anyways, so Pro Football Network did up a redraft of the 2020 class. So Jefferson, wide receiver 5 of that class. Yeesh, all that talk. But Burrow 1, Herbert 2 to the Commies instead of Chase Young, Jefferson 3 to the Lions instead of Jeff Okudah. CeeDee Lamb to the Giants, Jalen Hurts to the Dolphins. Sure, I mean Jordan Love. All right, so this was the draft where Tua went to the Dolphins, Herbert went 6 to the Chargers, and just sort of whatever from there. But also, so Jordan Love was at the back end of the first round. I mean, would you take CeeDee Lamb over Jordan Love right now? Like, I know that Love really only had half a good season. Or would you even take Jalen Hurts over Jordan Love? I mean, outside of the tush push, what does Jalen Hurts do better than Jordan Love? And I say that as a Vikings fan, and that hurts my teeth to say that. Then Wirfs, Ayuk, also in that first round. Then also Andrew Thomas. Plus, so the Vikings traded that pick to the Niners that they used to take Ayuk. So, I mean, it wouldn't have really made sense, but, I mean, the Vikings had Jefferson and Ayuk and had to pay both of them right now. It's kind of funny, man. So, there. But, I don't know, like, could you make a case for Jefferson above Herbert? Like, I understand Burrow's still at 1, and Herbert's still there, but what has Herbert really done? I don't know. Speaking of wide receivers in the draft, so yesterday was the 26 year anniversary of the Vikings taking Randy Moss. Now, Moss was the pride of Rand, West Virginia. Supposed to be at Florida State, supposed to be at Notre Dame, ended up at Marshall, broke all the records, and he fell in the draft because teams were concerned about his character issues and stuff. But Denny Green saw through all that, took a chance on the young man, and it certainly worked out. And we've covered this before, but Randy Moss was the first player that I scouted. And this was, I mean, if internet was around, it was dial-up, all that stuff. So, but checking out getting as many newspapers as possible, getting Sports Illustrated, getting Sport Magazine, getting the Sporting News, like all of those various magazines. And it started in 96 when his first year at Marshall, when they're still 1AA. And just this guy, 6'4", 210, 4'3", 40, was putting up insane numbers. And then they moved to 1A in 1997. Chad Pennington just dropping bombs to Randy Moss. I need to find me a throwback Randy Moss Marshall jersey. I'm surprised. Hey, this is frustrating because if you're Marshall University, we are Marshall. How is this not the number 1 item in your campus bookstore and also online? How are you not selling the piss out of 88 Randy Moss Marshall jerseys? It feels like you're just losing out on money hand over fist. But it's okay. But Randy Moss came in, lit the league on fire, and frankly, there hasn't been that true deep threat receiver like Randy Moss since. Stylistically, and I know people say, well, Julio, well, Megatron. Stylistically, you're not the same as Randy Moss. I guess the closest thing would be A.J. Green or maybe Marvin Harrison Jr. coming in. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't other great receivers, but the way that Randy Moss did it, with that blazing speed, take the top off the defense, completely make things easier for the rest of the offense, as well as that jump ball, contested catch capability. Plus, he was a refined route runner who could run the full tree as well. I mean, we haven't seen that. And so, yeah, back then, like, if teams were about drafting for need as opposed to BPA, Vikings would have passed on Randy Moss, which the Packers and the Lions did, by the way. The 2 picks ahead of the Vikings, so you would have had prime Barry Sanders and Randy Moss, or prime Brett Favre and Randy Moss together. That would have been funny, man. Anyways, but so if the Vikings would have gone drafting for need, probably cornerback or D-line, as opposed to BPA, I mean, they wouldn't have had this. And yeah, in 97, Carter and Reed were getting a little bit longer in the tooth, but I mean, 1997, Chris Carter had 89 for 1,069, 13 touchdowns, which is all that he did, on 158 targets, by the way, which isn't very efficient. Anyways, but then Jake Reed, the pride of Grambling. So Jake Reed had 4 straight 1,000-yard seasons before Randy Moss came in, and even though he's getting a little bit older. But he went 68 for 1138 and 6. I mean, that's still pretty damn good. And also, this was before teams were really running 3 wide, 11 personnel, 1 tight end, 1 running back. Like, even Bill Walsh, like, even the West Coast offense was out of a pro set. I mean, 2 running backs, or a tailback and a fullback, and a tight end and 2 receivers. So the 98 Vikings with Billick and Denny Green really opened things up. And then, of course, the next season, you had the 99 Rams, greatest show on turf, and they, of course, went 3 wide with Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt and Oz Hakeem. So, I mean, the Vikings were groundbreaking. It's amazing, man. It's amazing. But like I said, he was my first draft crush, the first player that I begged the Vikings to draft. I either wanted Moss or Charles Woodson, the Heisman Trophy winner from Michigan, to fall to the Vikes. That's all, man. But your thoughts are thoughts. A Vikings news dump on this glorious Friday. You guys are the best. You know what to do. Skull production value.